October 25, 1944. The ink-black waters of Surigao Strait lap against the hulls of Japanese warships, a narrow channel slicing through the Philippine archipelago under a shroud of pre-dawn mist.
Ow.
The air hangs heavy with the metallic temps of salt and oil, the distant rumble of engines echoing like a predator's growl. Board the battleship Yamashiro, sailors strain their eyes into the fog, hearts pounding with the rhythm of waves crashing below, unaware that the veil of darkness conceals not victory, but an apparition from a past defeat reborn. This fleeting moment in the strait marked the culmination of a desperate gamble by the Imperial Japanese Navy, a pivotal clash within the sprawling Battle of Leyte Gulf, the largest naval engagement in human history. As American forces under General Douglas MacArthur stormed ashore on Leyte Island just days earlier, on October 20th, 1944, Japan activated its Shogo Plana, multifaceted operation designed to lure away the U.S. carrier fleets and strike at the vulnerable invasion beaches. Vice Admiral Shoshi Nishimura's Southern Force, comprising the aging battleships Yamashiro and Fuso, the heavy cruiser Mogami, and 4 destroyers Michiyu, Yamagumo, Esagumo, and Shiger, steamed northward through the strait, intent on rendezvousing with other Japanese elements in Leyte Gulf to annihilate the American transports. This was no mere skirmish. It represented Japan's last bid to halt the Allied advance toward the home islands, with over 64 Japanese warships committed across the theater, facing an American armada of 216 vessels, including the 7th Fleet. Under Vice Admiral Thomas Kincaid, the strait's 47-mile length, flanked by islands and treacherous currents, became a choke point where imperial ambition collided with resurgent American resolve in the minds of Nishimura's sailors. Forged in the fires of early war triumphs, the night promised glory. They anticipated a swift passage under cover of darkness, leveraging Japan's vaunted expertise in nocturnal combat honed through victories at Savo Island and Guadalcanal, where torpedoes and surprise would overwhelm any opposition. Whispers of Bushido's spirit circulated below decks, evoking the invincibility of the Yamada-class behemoths elsewhere in the fleet, and the belief that divine winds would shield their advance. These men, many veterans of the Pacific's brutal campaigns, visioned shattering the American landings, turning the tide as they had at Pearl Harbor 3 years prior, where their carriers had crippled the U.S. battle line. Yet as the first PT boats emerged from the shadows like spectral hounds, the reality unfurled in horror. 39 American motor torpedo boats, divided into sections, initiated contact at 10:36 p.m. on October 24th. Their 40mm guns and torpedoes slicing through the night, Nishimura's force repelled them with searchlights and gunfire. One dud shell striking PT-130 without detonating, but the harassment foreshadowed doom. The sailors' expectations of unchallenged dominance evaporated as destroyer squadrons closed in, launching salvos of torpedoes that claimed Yamagumo in a cataclysmic explosion at 3:19 a.m., her hull disintegrating in flames visible for miles, and Michisio sinking soon after with 1,400 souls aboard, Fuso and Yamashiro facing similar fates. Historical records paint a vivid tableau of this unraveling. U.S. Navy after-action reports detail how Destroyer Squadron 54, under Captain Jesse Coward, fired 27 torpedoes at 2:58 a.m., striking Fuso and igniting internal fires that led to her magazine detonation, splitting the ship in two. The bow section sank at 4:20 a.m., stern at 5 a.m., with fewer than 10 survivors from her 1,400-man crew. Squadron 24 followed with 15 torpedoes, hitting Yamashiro and reducing her speed to 5 knots temporarily, while Squadron 56, commanded by Captain Roland Smoot, added more strikes. Smoot later recounted the scene. The devastating accuracy of this gunfire was the most beautiful sight I have ever witnessed. The arched line of tracers in the darkness looked like a continual stream of railroad cars going over a hill. No target could be observed at first. Then shortly there would be fires and explosions, and another ship would be accounted for. Japanese logs from the sole survivor, destroyer Shiger, reported rudder failures, wireless outages, and the annihilation of the force. Her captain, signaling the high command of the disaster, Nishimura himself perished aboard Yamashiro, his final messages urging presses onward despite the mounting carnage. Data from the engagement underscores the asymmetry. American forces expended 288 torpedoes across PT boats and destroyers, achieving multiple hits, while Japanese counterfire damaged only one U.S. destroyer, Albert W. Grant, with 18 shell impacts, some friendly resulting in 34 killed and 94 wounded. The battle's sole significant American loss. As the mist began to lift with the approach of dawn, the true terror revealed itself to the remaining Japanese sailors. A line of 6 American battleships arrayed across the strait's northern exit, their silhouettes emerging like vengeful phantoms. These were no ordinary foes. 5. West Virginia, Maryland, Tennessee, California, and Pennsylvania had been ravaged at Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941. Sunk or heavily damaged in the surprise attack that drew America into the war, raised from the harbor's mud through Herculean industrial efforts, refitted with advanced Mark 8 fire control radar, they now barred the path. West Virginia detected the Japanese at 44,000 yards, opening fire at 22,800 yards with her 16-inch guns, followed by the others in a classic crossing of the T formation. The thunderous roar of those American salvos, hundreds of shells arcing through the air, echoed across the strait, a sound that symbolized the boundless abundance of American production. Where democracy's factories churned out munitions and repairs at a scale unimaginable to the resource-strapped empire, Yamashiro absorbed over 100 hits, her superstructure ablaze, rolling over at 4:19 a.m. with the loss of most of her 1,400 crew. Mogami, crippled and adrift, was later finished by aircraft, while Asagumo's bow was sheared off, sinking at 7:21 a.m. Vice Admiral Kyuhide Shima's trailing force, witnessing the inferno, reversed course after a brief torpedo launch, his cruisers, Naki and Ashigara, fleeing the thunderous roar that heralded inevitable defeat. This encounter shattered the illusions of Japanese invincibility. Sailors who survived the ordeal, clinging to debris amid the oil-slicked waves, recounted in post-war interrogations a profound shift. The sight of those resurrected battleships, their guns thundering in unison, eroded the ideology of racial and martial superiority that had fueled the war machine. What began as confidence in Shogo's intricate deceptions decoy carriers under Ozawa drawing away Halsey's Third Fleet collapsed into despair as the strait became a graveyard. The Imperial Navy, already depleted by Midway and the Marianas, lost 29 ships overall in Leyte Gulf, including 4 carriers and 3 battleships, with over 10,500 personnel killed, crippling its offensive capacity. For the sailors, the transformation was visceral, the Bushido Code. Once a shield against fear, now rang hollow against the mechanical precision of American radar and firepower. Ideology bent under the weight of reality. Japan's empire, built on conquest and scarcity, could not match the democratic resurgence, where abundance in resources and innovation turned sunk holes into avengers.
Oh, the thunderous roar of those guns,
recurring in survivors' nightmares, became a harbinger of the war's inexorable end, signaling that the skies and seas belonged to those who could rebuild from ruin in the aftermath. As Filipino fishermen and PT boats plucked dazed, Japanese survivors from the water, over 1,000 rescued. Despite orders to search for weapons, the strait's waters calmed. But the echoes lingered. Rear Admiral Jesse Oldendorf, reflecting on the mismatch, noted dryly, "If my opponent is foolish enough to come at me with an inferior force, I'm certainly not going to give him an even break." Historian Samuel Eliot Morrison, an eyewitness aboard a cruiser, described the barrage as a funeral salute to a finished era of naval warfare, imagining the ghosts of admirals past standing at attention as the battle line faded into obsolescence. The engagement claimed minimal American lives, 39 killed, 114 wounded against thousands of Japanese, a testament to strategic mastery. Yet, beyond the tallies of steel and lives, this moment in Surigao Strait whispers a deeper truth. The thunderous roar of American guns, born from the forges of a free society where innovation and abundance flowed from democratic ideals. pierced the veil of imperial delusion. It linked the sailors' aged visages not merely from exhaustion, but from the dawning realization that freedom's resilience could resurrect the fallen, turning mist-shrouded apparitions into instruments of justice. In that poetic convergence of fog and fire, the larger essence of abundance emerged, not just in shells and ships, but in the ideology of liberty, where nations unbound by tyranny rebuild, endure, and ultimately prevail. Ensuring that the seas remain pathways to peace rather than graves of ambition,